many of you will have questions to ask of the only actor in Abu Dhabi, in the world, in the galaxy, the only actor to have appeared in every single Star Wars movie. So, if you have questions, please join in and just ask, because, oh, what a handsome chap, look at that. Yeah. I want to know what you want to know. But because it's a Comic-Con, it isn't just about Star Wars. Yes, there's other stuff, like Spider-Man. Never mind. There's even, I haven't seen any Trekkies here, but that's all right with me. Okay. Has anybody here not seen a Star Wars movie? Anybody? Yeah? Anybody? Yeah, you haven't seen a Star Wars movie. Okay. Just stand up if you would. Would you stand up? Would you stand up? Yeah, and just look over there. Just look at the camera there. So, just take that out of your way. Look at that. And what is your name?
Andrea.
Andrea. Andrea, I have a question. Why haven't you seen a Star Wars movie?
No words.
No words. Okay, don't worry. No, Andrea, it's too late now. Too late? I mean, timing is... Okay. Andrea has never seen a Star Wars movie. I think that's sad, don't you? Yeah. And she has no words to explain how she has never seen a Star Wars movie because she has got a life. Okay? She has got a life of her own. And who can tell Andrea very quickly what Star Wars is about? What is Star Wars about? Yes, young man, here we go. What is Star Wars about?
Hello, sir. Star Wars is a beautiful story about...
It's a beautiful story, and yes, it is a beautiful story, but what is it about? What is the essence of Star Wars? What is it? What, are you a Star Wars fan? Yes. What's it about?
People in space shooting each other.
It's a beautiful story about people in space shooting each other. Andrea, what do you think of it so far? Beautiful story in space shooting each other. What do you think Star Wars is about?
Family issues.
It's a beautiful story. Are you talking about my royal family? I'm from England. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's not hear it for Prince Harry. Okay, beautiful story set in space about people shooting each other, family issues. Now here's a young man, but I bet you know what Star Wars is about.
Okay, so Star Wars is about a galaxy far, far away a long time ago.
Very good. It's a beautiful story set in a galaxy far, far away about people shooting each other because of their family issues. Any other thoughts? Yes, young man over here. Just stand up and look at the camera there.
It's about the Force.
It's about the Force. Finally, we get to the kind of stuff. It's a beautiful family story where they shoot each other and they have the Force, and it's set in space. The story of Star Wars, Andrea, the story of Star Wars is about the adventures of a golden droid, okay? All this stuff about outer space, family issues, it's just rubbish, it's just padding. The story is of a golden robot who has been bullied for the last quarter of a century, half a century, across galaxies. Bullied, persecuted, ignored. Well, today, it's revenge of the droid, okay? Because you get to hear what I have to say from the inside, okay? So who has a question they would like to ask, again, of the only actor to be in all the movies? Question? Yes, stand up. Yeah, speak.
If you could, right, since you played the droid, right, if you could play any droids in any films except Star Wars, which one would it be?
If I could play any character in any movie, what would it be? Who would it be? Anybody who wore clothes in which they could sit down, eat, drink, and indeed go to the bathroom. That's all I'm interested in. Now, I should at this point out that for lucky people, they already know most of the answers to the questions that they might ask. R2? He's in there. Of course, all the questions that you might ask, including which character I would want to play, are in this seminal book. And this is my close-up. Sir, would you sit down? This is my close-up. Okay, we're zooming in. Get the lighting right. I am C-3PO, the inside story, which is my joy over the last 46 years of being in all these movies. And it's only available now on, eBay, or the Audible version is available on Audible. J.J. Abrams wrote the foreword and indeed recorded the foreword. So all the questions are in here in this wonderful book. So try and see if you can get it. But for those people who haven't had the chance to read it, now is your chance to ask questions. What is your question? Just stand up. Yeah, what's your name? Oh, please don't bow. Please, only the Ewoks are allowed to bow. Look over there.
What was it like to be in the costume?
Oh, you see, now there's a rubbish question. Any question, what was it like? How did it feel? Be more imaginative. Come on, give me something here. Give me something. Well, just stand up again. Think about it.
How long did it take to put on the costume?
That's marginally more interesting. What do we think? Marginally more interesting, yes. How long did it take? Well, let's start before that. I was a very serious actor. I took myself to drama school. It's in my book. Did I tell you? Yeah, okay. I'm just checking. I took myself to drama school when I was 24 years old because life had no meaning unless I could fulfill my dream of being an actor. And so I managed to get to drama school. I spent 3 years learning all sorts of stuff. And then I won an award to the BBC for radio. I went into the theatre, and then after 2 years, my agent rang and said there's this American called George Lucas who's made a film called American Graffiti. No, I hadn't seen it either. And he's making a low-budget science fiction film, and he wants to see you for the part of a robot. Well, I was a serious actor. How do you think I felt when she said, a part of a robot? And I said, nah, no, thank you. She said, don't be so stupid, go and meet him. So I did. And he was very nice, George Lucas, very shy, very polite, exhausted because he was seeing every actor in the world to play these characters. And I still wasn't interested. I was polite and bored until he showed me a picture by Ralph McQuarrie, a concept painting of the character. And the picture's in my, I said I wrote a book. It's a little picture of it's in the book. And I fell in love with the picture. Something about the eyes of the character and his kind of loneliness on this desert planet, that picture spoke to me. You know, people talk about beauty is in the eye of the beholder and so on, and a painting can change my life. I mean, anybody seen the Mona Lisa in Paris? Yeah, it's rubbish, isn't it? I mean, it did not speak to me for a second, but Ralph McQuarrie's painting really did. And Andrea, are you following this? Good. And suddenly I got interested, and then they gave me the script. The only person I liked in the script, nothing to do with me, was this strange gold character. And so I went back for another meeting, and this time I was nervous. And I spoke with George for about 2 hours, and at the end of it, I said, well, please, may I play the part? And he went, sure. I mean, it was like he broke a window or something. It wasn't even a word, sure. And the next day, I was in the studio being covered in plaster from head to foot to make the costume. So there I was with 2 builders who were slapping me around with plaster, and they made a model of my body, perfect model of my imperfect body. And then Liz Moore, the sculptor, covered it in clay, modeling clay, and built the shape that you now know. All those years ago, it started then. And then for 6 months, the team made the costume, and I would go in every day pretty much to the studio and try on a new leg, a new arm, anything like that. And every night I would be on stage in the theatre playing Guildenstern in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead. You know that play, brilliant. And then finally, the suit was ready, and I tried it on for maybe 15 minutes at the studio in London, and it was horrible. I bumped into the furniture, I knocked people over, it was a disaster. And then I said, now can I have the suit as promised in the studio with mirrors and a camera to rehearse how to make this thing work? And they said, no, you can't. It is being freighted off to Tunisia, Tunisia, North Africa. And I was devastated because the next time I saw that suit, it was laid out on trestle tables in the desert, in a tent. I will now try and avoid it this way. So now I am beyond jet lag, I am exhausted, we've driven into the middle of the desert, and now here is a tent, like a Boy Scouts tent with flaps and everything. And they began by putting on this kind of corset thing here, with a zipper up here, and then they put on the kind of Mickey Mouse pants here, taped down the sides like that. And then they put on a leg and a foot, and then they sealed up the back of the leg and then sealed the other. So now I'm complete from the waist down. So then front and back, and they slot it together like that. And then an arm and a hand, and now I'm complete, all but for the neck. And now, like an Easter egg, a chocolate Easter egg. And that was okay. But then came these bits. Half an hour to put on the head alone. Twisting and pushing me this way or that. Oh, sorry, yeah. They forgot that this was where I breathed through. But finally, after 2 hours of dressing up, finally 3PO was ready. And they drew back the tent flaps. And 3PO, struggled out onto the desert planet's surface. And I remember the sun was coming up from here. You want to be there at the sunrise so you get the daylight effect. And the sun was hitting me. I could feel it actually, kind of almost like the heat of it. And I could see with my tunnel vision, I could see all the crew like that. Here was, a bunch of American crews who were going, oh my golly, look at that. That is incredible. That is, wow. Wow, look at that. And then in the middle, I remember there were the British crew who went, that's quite good, isn't it, really? Yeah. And then here were the local people who were helping us, and they all went, oh, they thought I was the second coming. And these guys had never seen it before, but to these people who were from the local village, they were astounded. And I felt amazing because I just stood there seeing all this adulation. Not until the Ewoks, not until the Ewoks anyway, would I have such adulation. And I felt really good. And then they said, can you walk over to the set here, please, to the sand crawler, which was there. And I went, I had no idea how to walk in this thing. And at that point, this leg shattered the shoe area with its weight, and that cut into my foot. So I am encased in fiberglass and metal and plastic with my foot being sawn off. So in the first scene with Uncle Owen, where he says something about moisture evaporators, I'm actually not wearing a foot because the camera doesn't see it, you don't see it. But it didn't do a lot for my sense of well-being. Protocol droid with one foot missing already, this was not good. And then we started filming, and of course, Uncle Owen came up and said, so George said, action. Uncle Owen comes up, do you speak Bachi? Oh no, do you speak the primary language of moisture evaporators? And I had no idea what to say. I got as far as, why, my first job was... Cut. Action. Do you speak the binary? Why, sir, my first job was... Cut. Action. Why, sir, my... George came up to me, looking, I have to say, rather cross. And he said, don't worry about the voice. We can fix it later. You can say anything you like. Well, I'd never been in a play where you could say what you wanted. I mean, imagine what Shakespeare would have thought if he was alive to hear this. You cannot say what you want in a play. You have to say what's written. Anyway, we did action. You speak boisterously. Why, sir, my first job was... Terrific. Cut. Because I realized, and actors do this a lot, you can kind of make sounds that are right length of words, and then if the other actors can cope, you carry on. And the audience, for the most part, don't notice that. It's very naughty. Because I had, we filmed, and I stood there all day on the first day, all day. Think about this, 7 in the morning till sundown here. 7 in the morning to sundown, standing there. At lunchtime, there was a whistle, and I went, what? And they stood in front of me and went, oh, it's lunch. There's no way I could walk over to lunch. I stood there looking at the desert. I kind of needed to go to the bathroom. I would have liked to have been with other people. I was totally isolated for the whole day. Ugh. So I coped. I wanted to resign. But there I was in the middle of a desert, no cab firms, nothing. I was marooned in space. It was a weird feeling. But it got better over the centuries. Well, almost half a century. But then, another thing, my first scene was actually, after that, was at the Dome home with, where Luke Skywalker's just bought C-3PO and R2. Well, he bought the red one, but that exploded. Andrea, are you following me here? We haven't got onto the shooty bit, okay? And we haven't got onto the loving family who hate each other and not British royalty. But bear with me, we are in space, and the Force will eventually come along. Eventually. So there I am, and I tap Luke Skywalker on the shoulder and say, why don't you buy that one, sir? He's awfully good. And so I am now at the corner. Here's the Dome home, and here are the steps going down where Luke Skywalker's just gone down, because he lives there. And now, I am saying to R2, why I should do this for you is quite beyond my recollection or something. So action, and the R2 unit is being controlled by radio controls from over by the camera. And I have to stop here, because if I take 1 moment longer, I'm going to crash dive down the steps following Luke Skywalker, who can do steps because he's got a costume that bends like that. 3PO's costume does not do steps. So on action, why I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond my capacity. Oh, and suddenly I am being rammed from behind, but easy, I am being rammed. Behave. Being rammed from behind by this demented droid, this blue thing that is very powerful motors inside it. And I'm going to die if I go any further. I'm also going to wreck the costume, whatever. And eventually they're running and they come a little switch on the foot there of the R2 unit. Oh God. And so we start again, by which time George is getting really tired. So action, and I stop on my mark. Why I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond. I mean, if he was ramming me the first time, he is now utterly demented and dying to push me down. So the third take, And this is what you have to watch when you go home and watch it on film. Action. Why I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond my comprehension. And I wave him forward. Die, you little sucker. And he stopped bang. He stopped absolutely. That's absolutely true. You couldn't make it up. And how many times did it just roll over my feet and what? But the real difficult thing, of course, was that I'd been rehearsing with the script for 6 months, and always with a conversation, 3PO says this, R2 says that, 3PO replies, R2 blows a rude noise. On day 2, when I had a conversation with R2, there was nothing. Where are you going? And I struggled through. And then I said to George, it's kind of confusing. I didn't realize I was going to be talking to myself. Could somebody make a beep noise or something when I finish my line, Could somebody go beep, George? Could you? Oh, sure. So we started again. And I remember the scene. It was, I got to rest before I fall apart. My joints are almost frozen. Wait a minute, where are you going? Oh, beep. From then on, I realized I was on my own. And that's how it remained. And only in the last film did they arrange for Brian Herring, who was puppeteering BB-8, to actually say lines in English. I'm going over there. Why didn't they do this originally? Because I had to think all the time and make up R2's dialogue. And I was only getting paid for one role, but I was actually playing 2, because I was improvising all the way through with something as more useless than the trash can, actually, at least you put things in the trash can. So I was playing 2 parts and only getting paid for 1. Sorry? Thank you very much. Who's got a question? Yes, young lady, would you stand up and your beautiful gown, just I'm hearing voices again. Here we go. What is your name?
My name's Roxy.
Roxy, fantastic. Have you met Andrea? Because she is learning so much. Andrea, Roxy, here we go.
If you could change any part of C-3PO's storyline, what would it be?
Oh, that's an interesting question. If I could change anything about, what would you change?
I don't know. C-3PO would be more bedazzled. Bedazzled. Yes.
What does that mean?
Sparkly.
Sparkling. Well, he normally is sparkling. What you don't... Now think back. Andrea, I have to tell you, when you see it, 3PO sparkling? Not at all. You remember when you first see him? Who knows the opening line? Who has the first line in the very first Star Wars movie ever shot? Who has the first line? Come on.
You do.
You do. Who has the first line?
You do.
Who has?
You do.
Are we going to have to rehearse this?
You do.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question again. You will know the answer to this question.
You do.
That was a Jedi mind trick. Andrea, I'll explain later. Jedi mind trick. Okay. The original costume was bright and shiny as ever. Absolutely beautiful. Called Steinarting, a gold finish that was just beautiful. But what is the problem if you have a bright, shiny surface? Problem? Yes? What? If you are bright and shiny, what happens?
Reflection.
You reflect things. You reflect the camera. You reflect the director. You reflect the tea lady who's coming with the trolley. Everything is there. So on day 1, I stood there, and then they went, just hold still, and I could feel boom, 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 boom. The standby painter had come at me with a palette of floor wax, shoe wax, and dabbed me all over to dull the reflections. The worst was when on the second day I heard this voice come. And remember, I can't see who's coming towards me because I'm only looking directly ahead. And suddenly this voice said, hold your breath, Tones. And there's this shh, shh, shh. They were spraying my face with dulling spray to stop the reflections there. And I was breathing in this stuff. So all in all, 3PO was bright and shiny. And at the end of the first film, there he is on stage. Do you remember at the ceremony, polished up again? Another question. Let me go to this gentleman. Stand, if you would.
Hi, so if C-3PO actually had, like you said, he's the hero of the entire movie, did he just want to be the hero or did he just want to be left alone?
There were times that poor 3PO, George very early came on with the idea that you could do anything you wanted to a droid. All right, he cut off Luke Skywalker's hand, but basically with a droid you can mess anything about. And it became one of the things, I think, that 3PO always said, why are you late?
I'm here to see you now.
You're here to see me now. Are we going to have to start again? Yeah. Oh, nice. Not even any. Yeah, one of the reasons people, I think, relate to 3PO, and they do, is because R2 and 3PO, the two droids, have no say in life at all. They have to put up with what life gives them, how they are persecuted, how they're treated by the government, by the dark side, by people who own them. They're basically slaves. And kind of, most of us in this room don't have too much real autonomy. You know, we are told how to behave, we're told which side of the road to drive on, and worse things. We put up with the governments we choose, but we don't really have too much say, whereas the droids have no say at all. And that helps us, I think, relate to them, that they're kind of pushed around by events. And here's a weird thing. Young lady over there, and it occurred to me years later, that the play I was in just before shooting Star Wars was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Dead. Many of you will know the play Hamlet, in which Hamlet is the main guy, and two friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, his friends from university, are brought in to kind of find out what's wrong with him because Claudius is a little worried. So the two tiny people in Hamlet become the main people in that wonderful play, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. And I realized years later that they were exact paradigm of R2 and 3PO. Again, I was playing the clever one, Guildenstern, falling over, Guildenstern, and that's why I think I could relate to playing a countership. I hope you see this play again soon. Another question. Yes? Can we do something about the noise off that stage? I've asked a million times.
So my question is, how did C-3PO feel when Anakin turned to the dark side?
How did that's a difficult scenario. How did 3PO feel when Anakin went to the dark side? He was actually really sad because when we made the first film, I said goodbye. It's quite a relief, but I said goodbye. Second, episode 6, I said goodbye. That was it. Then episode 1, and I went to leave some studios, and George said, you're created by Anakin. And I thought, well, that's lovely that I was created by Anakin, because Sir Alec Guinness had been so nice to me in the original film, and I just said it was really apt that his character It was days later I realized Anakin was the other one. Sir Alec had played Obi-Wan Kenobi, the nicest person on earth. Anakin was the baddie, the dark side. And 3PO doesn't know, even to this day. Don't tell him. He's nervous enough as it is. But I thought it was brilliant. The baddest character, almost, makes one of the goodest characters. Question from over here. No, I'm not walking all that way. Somebody here. Yes, sir. Stand up and just turn around. Look at that.
Just a quick question. When did you realize that you just played the role of your life, and that you will be marking generations of generations.
When did I realize that I was going to be a superstar for the rest of my life? Is that what you're saying? Yes. What is it like standing next to a Hollywood icon? You're coping with it. How dare you? Pretty ordinary standing next to her. The first time, when, before we got to the opening of the film, of course, I'd actually forgot, stop looking at yourself. You're on screen, aren't you? You're bad. Before we got there, of course, I actually put Star Wars out of my mind. It wasn't the greatest experience, you know, if you're dressed like that in the desert to begin with, and then in Elstree Studios in London in 1976. Until last year, it had never been hotter in England from that year. That was a heat wave. The roads melted, there were standpipes in the street, people ran out of water, and I'm in a studio like this, wearing that suit, where all the lamps were in those days incandescent. They made huge amounts of heat, and I'm in that suit, absolutely in my own shower. I won't go into details, it was disgusting. Anyway, I was glad to forget that I'd been in this film. It's very odd to think that, but literally I put it out of my mind, carried on doing other work. Then a phone call. Would I go to Hollywood, literally, to put my voice back on the film? Don't wave at me, I'm concentrating, I'm telling a story. I'm trying to distract me. You want to be on camera, don't you? You just want to be on camera. Just stand up, turn that way, wave. Good, that was fun. Aren't I mean? Who's the star of this show? So would I go to Hollywood? So anybody who's here, I briefly talked about it yesterday. I get to Hollywood, I have never had jet lag in my life, it was severe. And now I'm in a studio, sound producer stage in Hollywood, just off Hollywood Boulevard. And I go into this recording studio, and there is a man, the engineer, with all these gizmos. And he goes, "Oh, hi, you're Anthony. Yeah. And, you know, it's good to meet you, it's incredible you got here, because you know, we've spent a couple of months trying to find a voice for your character, because, you know, George really hates your performance." Oh, hi, George. You hated my performance? Never thought of 3PO as being a British butler. Really? Huh? Well, I never thought of him as being anything else. You see, you can give an actor, any actor, a script, and they would do different from any other actor. He had tried 30 different actors to replace my voice on the dubbing screen. People like Richard Dreyfuss, now proper actor, but different performance, I think. And finally, one of the big voice actors said, you know, Anthony's voice is pretty good. You could use him, and George changed his mind, and that allowed me to put my voice on, and therefore be in all the films, all the videos, cartoons, events, animations, all the things, as is noticed in the filmography of my book. I did mention the book, yes. Available, as you know, on Audible. Do not listen while driving the car or using heavy machinery, obviously, but because of being able to be C-3PO, I am still to this day, well, actually last Tuesday, still being 3PO. Do not ask, otherwise I will have to have your mind wiped, okay? And that's not a pleasant thing, I know. But one of the things, of course, if you hadn't used my voice, there's no way I would have been in another movie, because the least of it is the physical side. The whole thing marries, because it's my body, my voice, and more importantly, my brain. Because believe it or not, I think like 3PO, and often just correct scripts more in the way of how he would say things. But because of George allowing me to keep my voice, I have been able to come here today. And I don't think I alluded to the fact that back in the day, when Star Wars came out and somebody asked me, the first thing I knew about Star Wars coming out was the cover of Time or Time magazine or Newsweek, and it said, wow, this story, this thing, this event has happened. And that was the point that I realized 3PO was a superstar, but I was nothing. I wasn't actually there. Nobody acknowledged the fact that I was in the costume, that it was my voice, my characterization. I was completely sidelined. And I have to tell you, as I say in my book, which I wrote, and available on Audible, it hurt me. It hurt me very much. And I nearly didn't do the second film. Why would I do it? To be ignored again? Actors, I don't wish to be famous. Rich would be nice. Famous, I don't care. But I didn't do it to be ignored, and I was ignored. And of course I did do episode 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, Rogue One, a little bit in Solo. And that was because people who saw the original movie loved it, so we made another. And they loved that, so we made another, and so on. And basically, all of you Star Wars fans made that happen. You had the power to do it. And you have given me work over the last 46 years, and I'm very grateful. So, may the Force be with you.
One more time for the legend that is Anthony Daniels!